Supernatural, Season 1, Episode 1, titled Pilot, written by Eric Kripke, directed by David Nutter. September 13th, 2005. I was 5 years old, just starting kindergarten. A brief history on me and the show. Um, like I said, I was 5 in 2005, so I was born in 2000. I didn't really watch the show until I was 13, and at that point I watched the first 5 seasons. And then I was like, see, that was when season 8 was coming out, I think. And I didn't finish season 6 until season 10 was out. And at that point, I watched all the way up to season 10. So I watched 2 chunks of it in 2 different sittings for the first time. The reason for this is because I saw like 4 to 5 episodes of the show here or there randomly, a lot of season 2, 3, and 5, uh, before I even started watching the show, and I loved a couple of the episodes so much that I decided I need to watch all of it, particularly Ghost Facers and Tall Tales. So, I, like I said, watched all the first 5 seasons, then I watched the first few episodes of season 6, and I stopped watching it. Then, uh, later, after rewatching the first 5 seasons again, I was like, all right, got 8 seasons here on DVD. I'm gonna watch seasons 6, 7, and 8. And then I watched them. By the time I finished them, the DVDs of 9 and 10 had come in the mail. My grandma had owned them all. And then I got to watch seasons 11 through 13 as they came out on TV. Seasons 14 and 15 I saw on Netflix after they had come out already. As I got through them, I noticed that every single showrunner got worse. I know it's kind of a controversial opinion because of people generally don't like season 6 and 7 as much for one reason or another, and I will explain myself once I get there because I'm going to do this episode by episode as I rewatch it because I felt like watching Supernatural. I've seen it a lot, and so I figured if I'm going to do it, I should do it for a reason and record reviews of each episode. So that's what I'm doing, and this is my review of the first episode. The first episode sets a lot of great, interesting things up. Sadly, throughout this whole research, throughout this whole rewatch, I'm watching it on Netflix, so uh, I'm not getting the correct music, which really blows. I really noticed it this time around. I'm like, what the fuck? Because part of the most, like, one of the most important parts of like the Sam and Dean like archetypes, characters, and all that stuff is that like they're listening to Metallica and AC/DC and Motorhead, not like fucking the shit that they're listening to in season 10 and shit. I don't know. We're not there yet, but I just thought I'd throw that in there because the Netflix fucked the music up too. Season 1, Episode 1, title pilot, directed by David Nutter, written by Eric Kripke, September 13th, 2005. The episode was phenomenal. It sets the brothers up perfectly as 2 people that are pretty much the opposite but also the same, which makes sense because you need them to play off of each other well, and they do. In this movie, they hit that stride perfectly from the get with like the way the characters were gonna interact. Dean being like the goofball that seems like he kind of never left high school, and Sam being like the sophisticated or elegant college kid. Funny thing is, in 13 days, 12 days or so, I'm gonna be 22, which is the age Sam is in this first episode. So that's fun. Hopefully, I'm not gonna age. I'm not gonna age each season that I do this for. Like, that would suck. But I really love this episode. I mean, from the jump, it like sets up the background of the characters, their tragic, uh, the thing that's broken in them that you're not supposed to fix, like the driving force behind them. It's every character who's supposed to be a hero or a main character has something in their past that affects the way they act now, directly or indirectly. And I think that it's an awesome, wise way to start the show when you know each episode's going to start with a monster murdering people so the brothers can come kill it. So to start the first episode with the monster that killed their mom and why they became hunters, uh, that was genius. I love that they have John give baby Sam to Dean and tell him to go outside with them. And then John goes to fight a losing battle trying to save Mary. It's very poetic and like it mirrors how they grow up after that. Um, I think it's very easy to read these characters after just one episode. You know what motivates them. Sam just wants a normal life and to get away from the monsters in the world. And Dean, he's just accepted that, like, as long as there's monsters in the world, we need to hunt them. We definitely need to get revenge for mom. Gotta find dad. All this shit. Pretty much the weight of the world is on Dean's shoulders from the get. And John, we don't really see a lot of him, but we know that he's very in his work. Their dynamic is really fun. I really enjoy when they're like Dean's mocking the cops, so Sam stomps on his foot, and then Dean slaps him in the head later, and they're just bickering. Like it's really funny because when you've seen the whole show, it ends with them pretty much old dudes. So to start and go back with them being like young and shit, it's pretty funny the way they're interacting. I think it's very smart of them to not only introduce the main villain of the whole franchise in this, but also to introduce the monster of the week element too. Because yeah, a story that was just about these boys trying to find Azazel would have been just fine, but the story at this point is about the week monster of the week. Um, I prefer uh, most of like the seasons 2 through like I'm not gonna say exactly when it cuts off, but the storyline episodes more than the Monster of the Week episodes. Season 1 is mainly Monster of the Week episodes, but they're still good. I love Constance Welch, the woman in white in this. She's like not only is she attractive, but she's really fucking creepy, like and really terrifying, and just evil as fuck. Like who the fuck does that to their kids? What the fuck? I'm glad she was tortured for so long because of that. But then the ending with not only the nostalgic, pretty badass looking CGI, but the idea of her ghost coming with close to her own children she murdered's ghosts, and their energies like absorbing each other and canceling each other out and going to hell. I don't understand how that quite works out, but it was really cool. It was also really emotional. I mean, with Sam going to that old dude and bringing up all these memories with him and telling him what really happened. I mean, it was kind of cold and fucked up. But yeah, this show started out as a badass horror show. And part of the reason I want to do this video series is to follow the show through its rise and fall of quality. And they start pretty high. The characters are just badass and fun. I mean, you got anything that's real. My boobs. Like, that's great. And I love the no chick flick moments. The music only being good music at this point in the show. And him saying, driver picks the music, shotgun shuts his hole. I mean, just the fun little things like that. I wish I was watching this on DVD and not on fucking Netflix so I could actually hear the correct music. But I digress from that. Episode rules. From setting up the character's backstory, which is very important, to showing Sam and his life that he's finally gotten away from everything. Got Dean, got the resist to the call, which is full of just a bunch of exposition that's really necessary of like how they were raised, where John raised them to be badasses that could defend themselves against monsters, but was always out hunting them, which shows that he wasn't taking them out to hunt the monsters until they were old enough. I love the little line that like, "Dad let you go hunting by yourself?" He's like, "I'm 26, dude." That was good. It shows a lot about these characters in just that short amount of time from uh, when Sam says "excuse us" to Sam's like, or Dean's like, "I can't do this on my own," and he's like, "Yeah, you can." He's like, "Yeah, but I don't want to," which is like, sorry, I'm saying like so much. Might as well be Shaggy, but the line is like very monumental to the whole point of the show, where it's about these brothers coming together to fight the world's evil, and they can't do it alone. They need each other. It's kind of foreshadowing of the codependence, but also like stating your theme out there in the beginning, which cuts to the trunk of Baby, full of all these badass weapons, to the hunt for their father, who's been gone for over the amount of time he's usually gone on hunts for. Figure out where they're going. You get that awesome scene where are introduced to the woman in white through this scumbag who decides that he's going to cheat on his girlfriend with a twitchy woman who's clearly creepy as fuck. So many red flags, but you know, you do you, dude. At least you have. I mean, hopefully, Revenge of the Sith was out at that point, and you didn't have to see any of the Disney Star Wars, so I'm glad for you there. I like the way they introduce the credit card fraud and the fake FBI badges and the way they operate and how they're badass outlaws that are. It's kind of like the Old West, where they're like very badass. They're like operating outside of the law, and but they're also fighting evil, like Billy the Kid fighting a corrupt business in a war. But yeah, no, just only completely different because uh, Sam and Dean are only killing monsters at this point. Very clear motivations for Sam and Dean, and like it's one very concise story. It sets everything up perfectly with that book ending of referencing the beginning again, reminding you that no matter how many monsters Sam and Dean kill, like this one that got their mother is always going to be out there, and that's the main force that we're driving towards. And of course, the line that Dean says at some point in the episode, where like we'll kill every thing between us and the demon. Go on, I'll tell you like uh, what I like and what I don't like. So I'll just, while I'm getting towards the end of the video, I'll just say at this point, pretending that it's just this episode to base it off of, I the boys are really close, but it's Dean's a little bit above. But that's pretending it's just this episode. I'll tell you as the show goes on how that shifts, uh, and some other things. I have seen every episode of the show several times. Well, not season 15. I have seen that once, but well, half of it I've seen once, and I wish I could keep it that way. But I will have to rewatch them for this video series. There's not a lot to go on with this first one as far as like, oh, I love these characters, I don't like these characters, because I was talking about which I liked more of Sam and Dean in this episode. I was trying to think of anything else, and it's like, well, Bobby's not in here yet, Cass ain't in here yet. There's a lot that is in this first season pretty much about family, and it starts out with just this trio of boys that grew up on the road, one of them being the other two's dad. And I think it's a good story. Um, we're one episode in. Uh, I enjoy the kills, like Jessica and Mary dying the same way. Like I said, it's a nice like beginning and ending there that like ties it together and reminds you of what the main thing that they're fighting for is, while also that whole middle chunk of it shows you what you're going into the show for. Like episode by episode, it's going to be a new monster every week in new town. They show you everything these boys do to like get into town, get their information, and not seem suspicious. What they do to get out of getting arrested when they are suspicious. It shows you everything in this first episode. It's pretty great for a pilot. I really enjoyed Jessica. She's not a big part though. Spoiler alert: she dies in the first goddamn episode. Uh, Shows up here or there, but not really her. Like just hallucinations or yeah, hallucinations. And so there's that. Right from the get, I already like these characters. In law, I mean that makes sense. I've done a little bit of studying of law, not a lot. Seeming like he stepped out of the old west. They seem like they've handled a lot of shit and could beat most people up, which is cool. Again, I like the monsters in this episode. I mean, we don't really see most of Azazel in this episode. He's just kind of a figure there. And that's all the more creepy and like terrifying. Is like if they're gonna show us full fledged what this woman in white can do and say, oh, she's just a monster of the week, then you know that what's killed the mom and Jessica's gonna be pretty fucking brutal. And I know Brady killed Jessica. As we go through these episodes, talk about them as if it's. I'll talk about them as if whatever is said to contradict what's in this episode in the future, that's the retcon. That's what's fucked up, not what is said from the get. And I know that it's purposes until we get to that point in the show. Azazel killed her, and that's how I'll talk about it until we get there. And I'll probably bring up and reference things that are foreshadowed and things that are retconned as it goes on, but I'll judge the episode as of the canon of the time that the episode came out. And with this first episode is really like probably the easiest because you don't have to think about any of the other episodes and trying to keep track of if it contradicts anything or not. But yeah, no, this is a really good episode. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say about it. I really want to say about it right now. I'm sure I'll think of something later, but I'm just gonna pop in episode 2. I don't know why I said pop in. I'm still stuck in DVD VHS combo days. Push play on episode 2, and then film a video on that episode, Wendigo. So I'm going to hopefully do every episode of this show and review every episode in video form. And I do a bunch of other shit on the show. Or on the show. I do a bunch of other shit on the channel too, so like and subscribe and all that bullshit. Uh, hit the bell if you only want to know about one type of video that I do. I'm assuming it would be this type if you're watching this one this far through.